limit your time of triggering your nervous system, I want to help you limit your stress response here and come back to your ideal state of being. We don't want to stay in fight or flight. I want to talk to you today about our nervous system and our stress response because when we are stressed in fight or flight, sympathetic stress response, our whole immunity, our whole digestion shuts down. And that's not going to help us stay healthy, being able to defend ourselves against any viruses, such as the coronavirus or anything else that might be in our environment. Also, too, when our digestive system and immune system are shut down, they're not making important neurotransmitter chemicals like serotonin that's made in the gut. And that helps with so many things within us. Primarily, one of the things serotonin does is that it helps with our mood and our sleep. So, the biggest challenge we have during times like these is to keep bringing ourselves back from this sympathetic fight or flight stress response. On purpose, we have to take ourselves back, not let ourselves stay there, not let our body get in a habit of being stuck in this fight or flight response. That's what post-traumatic stress disorder is. It is prolonged stress, more than a month of being stuck in our fight or flight stress response. And so a big purpose of me making these videos in this group is I want to help all of you not get stuck. I want to help you train your nervous system to be more resilient and less triggered by all of this stress all around us. So there is a group dynamic that's very powerful. It's like a virus itself. We can get sucked into the fear in our society. The way that news is presented, the way that these challenges are discussed, we can pick up that fear. I like this analogy. So a ship on the ocean doesn't sink because there's water around it. The ship that would be strong sailing over any waves in the ocean through any storms becomes weak when the water gets in the boat. So it only takes one leak, one crack of water leaking in to sink the boat. And so within our group dynamics, how we engage with social media, text messages, the news, our conversations, are we letting fear into our boat to sink us? Or are we staying strong and resilient, putting the air in, putting the sunlight in, keeping our boat strong so it can float over all of the fear? So, with our stress response, this is what happens. This is a deep-rooted protective mechanism in our body. So I want you to notice how you're sitting, standing, moving, how you're breathing to identify if you're in stress so that you can then get out of it. So when we're overthinking that stress, which the perceived threat, whatever we're thinking about, makes a physiological effect. So we don't have to be threatened by lions and tigers and bears in the jungle or dinosaurs, right? As it used to be, right? Before all these wonderful modern conventions of this house, right? These walls, this concrete. We're not as exposed in nature, but we're exposed to our mind. So the stress response gets triggered by our mind. What are we thinking about? Are we thinking about what we can't control? Like this virus, the shutdown, the economic effects of that. There are things in life that we can't control. And if we think about the fact that we can't control these things and feel overwhelmed and helpless, does that feel good? No, it doesn't. So what we can do is focus on what we can control. So what we can control is how we respond to all of these things outside of us. So how do we respond? What is our perspective? What will we choose to allow ourselves to think about these circumstances? Because it's our thoughts that create the emotion, that create the physiological state of being that we're in. So it all starts with what we're thinking, creating how we're feeling, creating how our physical body responds. Does it get stuck in fight or flight stress response and shut down our immunity and our digestion? Or what we choose to think can create a much more empowered, positive emotion within us that creates our vibrant health, our strength, our ideal state of being. So we have that choice. So I want you to notice what happens in your body throughout the day. Just check in. When we're under stress, these things will happen. And I'll turn to the side just so you can see. So we'll lean forward. We'll breathe shallow from our chest. We'll hunch. We don't clean our lungs. From this hunched, shallow breathing state, we're keeping carbon dioxide in our lungs. We're not cleaning out our lungs. It's going to keep us irritable because our whole body in fight or flight wants to physically defend ourselves. So if we're hunched over in this fighting stance, right, we can use our rib cage as a shield, right? Because we're going to fight or we're going to run away, right? So in the fight or flight, to serve us, if we're more irritable from having carbon dioxide in our lungs and breathing shallow, that can help us, right? But the problem is that we're not fighting anything and we're not running away. We're usually sitting around watching the news, letting this grinding feeling just churn within our stomach, feeling that stress, not getting those stress chemicals to move through us. So we get a spike in our adrenals in our lower back here, right underneath our rib cage, our adrenals right here, they overwork from these stressful thoughts, putting us in this physical state of being, of spiked blood sugar to make fat around our abdomen, right? Everybody has had the spare tire experience, perhaps not everybody, but maybe some of us here, right? We get the stress weight. We get the adrenaline spike. And the only problem with that spike of blood sugar and spike of adrenaline and spike of cortisol is that we're going to crash. So we keep exhausting our adrenal glands, exhausting ourselves to the point of burnout, and then we'll pour maybe some coffee or maybe some energy drinks in or something to compensate for this deep, deep crash and exhaustion. So does this sound like a way that we can go through life? Is that sustainable? No. It becomes harder and harder to keep going, especially the more birthdays we have, we will feel the way we've treated ourselves. And if we allow ourselves to live in this state of fight or flight where our digestion shut down, we can't use those nutrients that we need from our food in order to rebuild our body and be healthy. Our immune system's not strong, so we're susceptible to things like allergies, to all kinds of colds and flus. We're compromised, we're weak. Staying in stress, fight or flight sympathetic nervous system response makes us vulnerable and weak. It is not sustainable. It's not a way to help ourselves. So I want to empower you today to notice, are you hunching over? Are you breathing shallow, right? Are you tensing? We tend to tense our hands and our feet. We'll shrug our shoulders. Do you have fine lines coming between your eyebrows? It's because you're subconsciously straining, holding. That's stress. That's a sign of stress. Your body can tell you, our body can tell us what we're doing that we may not realize because it's subconscious. So if you have those fine lines, that's something to identify. How are you handling your stress? Because we wouldn't have those if we are able to be relaxed and calm. So the knots in the shoulders, do we have knots in the shoulders and in the neck all the time because we're scrunching, tensing, holding? Do our hands ache? Do we have knots in the neck and shoulders? Do we have fine lines between our eyebrows? Do we have any digestive symptoms? Do we feel nauseous? Are we gassy? Are we bloated? These are all clues. Our body is talking to us, asking for support, letting us know what we're doing. So check in. Because then what we can do if we check in, even if it's just once a day, we can open all this up. So scrunching, holding, thinking, feeling that overwhelm. When we feel that overwhelm, we talked about yesterday, using that breathing technique. So we want to open up the shoulders, right? Open up the chest. Lean back. Breathe into our abdomen. Put our hand there so we can feel that breath. And inhale to the count of 4. Hold for the count of 7. Exhale to the count of 8. We only need to do this 4 or 5 times to break out, to interrupt this pattern. Inhaling to the count of 4. Hold for 7. Exhale 8. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. So now, what else can we do? We had all this tension built up, all this hunching, right? Back probably feels achy, neck and shoulders tight. So to finish out this video right now, I want to help you with some great neck and shoulder stretches, some of my favorite ones. So we're just going to take 3 deep breaths in each position. You can do this in 5 minutes or less. So hands together, interlaced, chin to chest. 3 big deep breaths is about 15 seconds. And just breathe into that. So we want to see how straight can our elbows be, how close can our chin be to the chest. Then we want to come, I'm going to turn so you can see, we're going to interlace. We're going to see how straight the elbows can be, how high the arms can raise. Looking back over our head. Taking 3 big deep breaths. Now we're going to come back and we're going to do some crisscrossing. You've probably seen this. The biggest thing, you want to keep the shoulder down. Shoulder stays down, so you feel it more in your shoulder blades, a bigger stretch. Now we got the other side, 3 big deep breaths. So we want to meet our edge of flexibility. We don't need to push through it. If you're starting here, that's okay. It doesn't matter. You start here, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you start. And as you meet whatever your edge of flexibility is, it will expand. So every day we meet it and then it expands. So now we're going to tilt our head down, turn to the side. We're going to put some weight with our arm. Again, just 3 big deep breaths. You can go through these stretches in 5 minutes. This is one of my favorite ones. We're going to do the other side. You can do this in your car in traffic. It doesn't take a lot of space. So what we're doing is we're just doing every range of motion. Now looking to the side over your shoulder as far as you can. 3 big deep breaths. Looking to the side, 3 big deep breaths, the other side. And now back to center, we're going to do some circles. Pretend there's a pen on the end of your nose. Just doing small circles. And back, small circles. And now shoulder circles, 3 from back to front, and then 3 from back to front. So front to back and then back to front. And now shake it out. So we can relieve stress and tension in just 5 minutes in the neck and shoulders that really take a beating. Because whenever we are thinking about something, reacting to stress, we'll get all tensed up and breathe shallow. So we can break all of that out, come back to ourselves, back to our power, focusing on what we can control. We can control how we treat ourselves to put ourselves in our best state of being, where we're not emotionally reactive, we're not overwhelmed, and we can make much better, right, conscious, informed decisions based on the facts that we review. So this was just 5 minutes of neck and shoulder stretches, and now hopefully you understand how vitally important it is for you to de-stress in 5 minutes or less as needed throughout the day, so that your immunity will be up to prevent any coronavirus or any other infections, right? Your digestion will be up, so you'll process those vital nutrients. Your body has a big job to remake you. If we don't get out of stress response, it doesn't have a chance to do that. So we want to help our body do its big job of remaking us every day. So this is what we can control. In just minutes a day, it's mind body mastery. So I'll keep coming, showing you some other tools to help you really get in this mind body mastery state and really keep it, so that no matter what happens around us, we're good. We can face all these challenges in a state of peak performance, in a state of power. So have a great, wonderful day, feeling your freedom, feeling your power. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye, you guys.